Ambassador Vex Thaler of the Council of United Galaxies stood before the assembled representatives, his crystalline form refracting the cold light of the diplomatic chamber. Around him, delegates from 47 species watched in silence as he delivered the verdict that would echo across the stars. "The humans have rejected our terms," he announced, his voice resonating through translation matrices. "They refuse to surrender their outer colonies. They refuse to limit their expansion. They refuse to submit to galactic law." A murmur rippled through the chamber. The Krell ambassador, a serpentine creature with scales like polished obsidian, hissed in satisfaction. "Then we proceed as planned. The human menace will be contained." The vote was unanimous. 47 civilizations, some millions of years old, had agreed. Humanity had grown too quickly, spread too far, and refused to acknowledge their place in the cosmic hierarchy. The youngest species in the galaxy would learn, humility through force. What the Council didn't understand, what they couldn't understand, was that humanity had never expected the peace talks to succeed. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the tactical display with cold calculation. Around Earth and every human colony, fleets assembled, not the merchant vessels and patrol craft the aliens had observed, not the defensive platforms they had catalogued in their intelligence reports, warships, thousands of them. "Admiral, the Council fleets are moving into position around our colonies," reported Lieutenant Hayes, his voice steady despite the magnitude of what was coming. Chen nodded. "And our response?" "All ships report ready." Operation Pandora's Box is green-lit across all theaters. Chen allowed herself a thin smile. The aliens thought they knew humanity. They'd watched humans for 2 centuries, studied their expansion, their technology, their culture. They'd seen human diplomats plead for peace, seen human colonists flee from alien aggression, seen human merchants bow to unfair trade restrictions. What they hadn't seen was what humans did in the dark, in the deep black between the stars, in facilities buried beneath moons and hidden in asteroid fields. "Execute," Chen ordered. The first indication that something was wrong came when the Council's advanced fleet arrived at Proxima Colony. Fleet Commander Zartok expected to find a frightened population, perhaps some hastily assembled defenses. Instead, his sensors screamed warnings as the space around his fleet erupted. Mines, millions of them. But not conventional explosives, these were singularity warheads, each one creating a micro-black hole that lasted just long enough to shred hull plating and tear ships apart at the atomic level. "Evasive maneuvers," Zartok roared, but it was too late. Half his fleet vanished in the first 30 seconds. Then the human ships appeared. They didn't decloak. That technology was centuries beyond humanity's reach. They simply stopped running silent, dropping the thermal camouflage and EM dampening that had kept them hidden in plain sight. They'd been there all along, drifting like debris, waiting. The human vessels were ugly things, utilitarian and brutal. No sleek curves or aesthetic considerations. Just weapons platforms wrapped in the thickest armor humanity could forge. And they moved with a ferocity that shocked the Council forces. Humanity didn't have shields like the Krell. They didn't have phased energy weapons like the Vexthalar. They didn't have living ships like the Sarathi. What they had was mathematics, industrial capacity, and a terrifying willingness to do whatever it took. Their railguns fired projectiles at relativistic speeds, simple chunks of depleted uranium accelerated to a fraction of light speed. No energy signature to track, no way to defend except to not be there. The kinetic energy alone was devastating. Their missiles were suicide drones, each one piloted by an AI sophisticated enough to outthink point defense systems, making impossible maneuvers that would kill any organic pilot. And when they closed to knife-fighting range, they used lasers powerful enough to boil atmospheres, powered by fusion reactors that humans treated as disposable. In the Council chamber, panic had replaced confidence. Reports flooded in from every front. The human colonies weren't falling, the Council fleets were. "How is this possible?" demanded Ambassador Vex Thaler. "Our intelligence was comprehensive." It was a Sarathi analyst, a being of pure energy contained in a quantum field who understood first. "They deceived us. For 200 years they deceived us. Every diplomat who pleaded for peace, every merchant who accepted our terms, every colony that seemed defenseless. It was theater. They were buying time. Time for what? To build." The analyst's field pulsed with something that might have been admiration, While we watched their civilian infrastructure, they built military infrastructure we never saw. While we counted their patrol ships, they constructed war fleets in the outer dark. While we studied their culture of peace, they studied our tactics, our weaknesses, our complacency. Ambassador Vexthalar's crystalline form dulled with realization. They wanted us to attack. Yes, they needed a cause that would unite their species. They needed to justify what they'd built in secret. And they needed us to strike first, so they could respond with a clear conscience. The war lasted 3 weeks. At the end, Admiral Chen stood before the reassembled council. What remained of it? 47 species had voted for war. 23 had sued for peace within the first week. 15 more surrendered after the human fleet jumped directly to their home systems. You wanted to teach us our place in the galaxy, Chen said quietly. Her words transmitted to every council world. You wanted us to understand that we were too young, too aggressive, too dangerous to be left unchecked. She paused, letting the silence stretch. You were right. We are dangerous. We're dangerous because we prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. We're dangerous because we learn from history, both our own and others. We're dangerous because when you push us, we don't just push back. We remove the threat entirely. Chen's expression softened slightly. But we're also merciful. We're not here to conquer. We're here to survive. New peace terms are being transmitted now. They're non-negotiable, but they're fair. Follow them, and we'll return to being the friendly merchants and curious explorers you thought we were. She leaned forward, and every being watching felt the weight of her words. Break them, and you'll learn that humans have a saying: we don't start fights, we finish them. In the years that followed, the galaxy learned to coexist with humanity. Trade flourished. Cultural exchanges blossomed. Scientific collaboration reached new heights. But in the deep black, human shipyards never stopped building. Human soldiers never stopped training. Human strategists never stopped planning, because humanity had learned the most important lesson the galaxy could teach: hope for peace, but prepare for war, and never, ever assume that because someone seeks peace, they're incapable of war.